Kate was a nice, well-mannered girl. She studied well, took dance classes, and spoke 3 languages. Allison, her mother, did her best to ensure that her daughter could get a good education. She had 2 jobs, earned some extra money as a translator, and even as a private tutor. The money was enough, and Kate could afford to go to the university even on a paid basis, but she was lucky and got a scholarship. Kate dreamed of becoming an interpreter and traveling around the world. But as it often happens, we make plans and dream, but fate makes adjustments and sharply changes the direction of our life. In her 2nd year, trouble occurred. Allison was diagnosed with inoperable cancer. She worked so hard that she had no time to take care of her health, and this was the result. Doctors offered Allison chemotherapy treatments, but she refused because she didn't see the point in it. Kate cried and begged her mother to accept it. "Katie, sweetie, what's the point of this? Tell me. Everything is already clear. Chemotherapy won't help me. That's what the doctors say. I'll be gone soon anyway, but without chemotherapy, I'll keep my hair. Also, chemotherapy is very difficult to tolerate, as everyone who has undergone it says. I don't want to, sweetheart. You can't convince me." "Mommy, what if a miracle happens and the chemo helps? Maybe it's worth a try. You're the only one I have. How can I live without you? Let's give it a try." "No, Kate. I've made up my mind. I won't try chemotherapy, and let's drop the subject." But Kate did not want to put up with the situation. She began to search the internet to find similar cases and possible solutions to the problem, and came across one very interesting blog in which a man described how he overcame the disease. Kate decided to contact him. He answered right away and offered her help absolutely free of charge. But there was one problem. He lived in Australia. She urgently needed to find the money for the tickets, and she couldn't even imagine how much a ticket to Australia would cost. When she checked the prices, she felt unwell. They didn't have that kind of money. Herman, that was his name, insisted that every minute counted. They say the sooner you start, the better the chances for a successful recovery. But Kate had a second problem. She had to somehow convince her mother of the necessity of this trip, and it was just as difficult as finding the money. Kate called her friend Marie, wanting to ask for help, and arranged a meeting with her. What Kate absolutely loved about her friend was that she was always there for her. Whenever she called, Marie would immediately rush to help. Kate described her situation and asked if Marie knew anyone she could borrow a large sum of money from. "Kate, sorry, but I don't know anyone who could borrow you that money. If there was not that much, I could, but I don't think anyone would borrow the amounts you need so easily." "What can I do? I can't stop trying to save my mother." "I understand that, but I don't know how to help you yet." And friends headed home. Kate needed to talk to her mother. She thought out every word, every sentence, but she knew that the conversation would go the other way anyway. Never before had she been able to talk the way she thought of it beforehand. Mother sat by the window, staring thoughtfully into the distance. Kate came into the room on shaky legs. She realized how important this conversation was, and she could not postpone it. The problem had to be resolved as soon as possible. Perhaps her mother had acquaintances who could borrow such a sum of money, but Kate decided to start with something else. "Mom, I've long wanted to ask, why weren't you married to my father? And actually, where is he? What if I have rich grandparents and they dream to meet me?" Allison looked sadly at her daughter. "It's a long and unpleasant story. I understand, but you never told it to me. Mom, I'm grown up now. Can I finally get the story of my birth?" "Okay, then go make us peppermint tea, because it's a long story." 5 minutes later, Kate brought 2 huge cups of tea and sat down in the chair in front of her mother. It was truly important for her to know at least something about her father. She remembered being called fatherless when she was a child. crying quietly into her pillow so her mother wouldn't notice. She made up all sorts of stories about her father for her classmates. Kate did not want to believe that her father was a dishonest person. And now she looked at her mother and hoped to hear something good about the man who had given her life. We met when I was 19 and Alex was 23. He had just graduated from college and was back in his hometown. By that time, his father had been dead for several years. His father was a very powerful person in our town, and his mother was even more powerful. Everyone was afraid of this family, but I didn't care. I was head over heels in love. Alex was also in love. I could see and feel it. We were like two halves of the same whole. 3 months later, he told me that he was going to England for an internship for 3 years and offered to quit university and go with him. I didn't say yes right away because it was important for me to get an education, but I also understood that this internship was very important to him and he wouldn't turn it down. He proposed to me so that we could go as a family. Eventually, I accepted the offer and agreed to go with him. We began to prepare for the wedding, but we had to meet my parents. One night, Alex told me that his mother invited us for dinner tomorrow. When we arrived at their house, a tall, stately woman came out to meet us. She looked like some kind of VIP who had condescended to talk to the servants, and she behaved in the same way she looked. She did not say a word to me during the entire evening, and all the questions she asked about me and my family, she asked Alex. I held on very difficult. I was uncomfortable feeling this dismissive attitude, but I endured it. I endured it for the sake of my future husband. We left, and I felt sick and disgusted. Alex tried to comfort me by saying that I shouldn't pay attention to her behavior, that she was always like that, and that we would leave soon and we wouldn't see her again. But I still felt bad. A few days later, I found out that I was expecting a baby, and I told Alex about it right away. He was genuinely happy about it, and the next evening, my future mother-in-law came to our house. She didn't even enter the apartment. She talked to me on the doorstep. Actually, it couldn't be even called a conversation. She threw a wad of money in my face and commanded me to solve the problem with the baby. Obviously, I refused. She looked at me with her brown eyes, turned around, and left. The only thing I heard her say in the end was, "Lord, do something so they'll never be together." And her request was fulfilled. That same evening, Alex died in a car accident. Mom could hardly hold back her tears. Kate looked at her mother in shock and could not believe such a story. "Mommy, what a disaster! Why didn't you ever tell me about it? After all, Daddy was a decent man and he loved us. That's different from what I thought all my life." I didn't want to think about it. It still hurts me to think about it. Mom paused and continued, "You look a lot like him. Do you still have pictures of my father? At least one?" "Yes, I'll show you." Allison took out an envelope and pulled out some pictures. 2 pairs of happy eyes were looking at Kate. Even without her mother's story, it was clear that the picture showed a couple who were in love. Daddy was very handsome. I understand you. It's impossible not to fall in love with someone like him. Kate didn't know what to do next. According to her script, she was supposed to get to the important conversation now. But her mother was already a bit stressed because of the memories. But the issue of treatment had to be resolved as soon as possible. And Kate told her mother that she had met Herman and his story that he had been cured of a similar disease, but at an even later stage, and that he was willing to help for free. But she would have to fly to Australia for that. Allison looked at her daughter in surprise. "Kate, why are you doing this? I do not believe in all these fairy tales. You're getting your hopes up for nothing. The doctor said that there is no chance, and I don't want to go to a stranger and live there for who knows how long at someone else's expense. This is not the way I'm used to living." "Mommy, my dear, please hear me. I have no one but you. If there is even a little hope of saving you, I will cling to it. You're still a very young woman. You still have a long life to live, and you deserve to take care of your grandchildren someday." Allison cried again. She had thought about it more than once herself. She was only 39 years old. It's too young to die. Should we really try? It could hardly be worse than it is now. Allison suddenly thought. "All right, Kate, I agree. Let's try." Kate couldn't even believe it at first. "Really? You're not kidding?" "No, I'm willing to try. How much money do we need?" Kate named the amount. Allison was speechless from shock. "Yes, it's a lot of money, I know, but life is priceless. I'll find the money," Kate said. "Wait, I collected some money for your wedding." Allison got up and went to the closet. She pulled out the jewelry box and then the money, and Kate was surprised. She had no idea they kept that much money at home. She counted it. "Not much is missing, and we'll need to buy some presents for Herman. But you also need to take some money for daily expenses," Kate said, happy that more than half of the amount was already there. After calling all her friends and acquaintances, Kate collected the needed amounts. The suitcase was packed, the gifts were bought, and her mother was ready. The flight was tomorrow. Kate and Marie took Allison to the airport, saw her off, and returned home. Kate asked her friend to stay for dinner. After dinner, Kate asked Marie, "Do you happen to know of any job opportunities? I want to get a job. I don't know how long Mom will have to stay there. Obviously, she'll need money." "Oh, I do. Just yesterday, my neighbor suggested me to go to some lady to earn some money. I can give you the address if you want." "What kind of job?" "Maid. You have to go to the grocery store, clean the house, do laundry, cook, and even walk her in the garden. A lonely old lady lives all alone. Apparently, she has money, but no one close to her. And she pays very well, but they say she's mean, very picky." "Oh, I'll be fine. Marie, thanks a lot. You're a true friend." Without postponing, Kate went to the address the very next day. As she approached the house, she was amazed. A huge 2-story house looked like a count's mansion, and in front of the house there was a huge garden. As she entered the gate, Kate realized that the owner of the house obviously loves luxury and honored herself as some kind of majestic person, because she had seen such houses and gardens only in movies about very rich people. There was no one in the garden, and she walked uncertainly toward the house. On the veranda, an elderly woman was sitting in an armchair and reading a book. "Hello, excuse me, I'm here about the job." The woman looked at Kate from head to toe, then looked into the girl's face and said loudly, "Do you have any work experience or any recommendations?" "No, I just really need a job. My mom is sick. I haven't worked before, I'm a student," Kate answered honestly. "Good for you for not lying. I don't tolerate lies. And what can you do?" "I can do everything. Washing, cleaning, cooking." "Very good. You can start right now," the lady condescendingly allowed. "What's your name?" "Kate." "All right, Kate, go to the kitchen and make me dinner." Kate suddenly sensed some sort of catch in this command, but she wasn't confused. "All right, what would you like? Are there any restrictions on food? Do you have any allergies?" "Good, smart girl," the lady said in a more friendly manner. "There's a list of foods on the table in that kitchen that I cannot eat, and everything else is okay." Kate quickly got used to the new house. After a week, the landlady, whose name was Isabella, asked Kate to move into her place. It was much more convenient that way. Kate agreed. It was not easy for her at the beginning, but when she realized that Isabella was so harmful from being lonely and it was possible to get along with her, Kate was quite good at it. A month passed. One morning, Isabella was unusually silent and sad. At such times, Kate tried not to bother her at all and just did her daily chores, but Isabella called Kate over to her place. "Cook me dinner and you can be off until tomorrow." It was very strange. because she usually asked Kate not to leave the house. It was as if she was afraid to stay alone. "Isabella, is something wrong?" "No, I just want to be alone. Today is a special day." She didn't finish and turned away. Kate saw tears in the eyes of this stern and arrogant woman. "Sorry, but I won't leave you alone in this condition." "Okay, then make us some tea. We'll sit in the garden together." This was something Kate had not expected at all. Isabella always ate alone, and now they were sitting in the garden, drinking tea. At some moments, Isabella bent over and a pendant opened around her neck. Kate saw the photo in the pendant and was dumbfounded. No way. It was impossible. The pendant had a photo of her father in it. Kate immediately understood everything. Now, she was looking at her employer with entirely different eyes. That look did not go unnoticed by Isabella. "Is something wrong, Kate?" Kate was a sincere and straightforward person. She really couldn't and wouldn't lie. "So that's who ruined my mother's life. Do you know who's in front of you?" Isabella's face changed. She was really afraid, and she was silent for several minutes. Despite her temper, Isabella was a very smart woman. She immediately understood what was going on. "This cannot be," she said faintly. "You are my granddaughter." "No, my grandparents are already in another world. I never knew the others. And for you, I am the one you wanted to get rid of." Kate stood up abruptly and wanted to leave. But Isabella suddenly jumped up very briskly and fell on her knees in front of her granddaughter. "Forgive me, for God's sake, forgive me. I didn't think it would turn out this way." She cried so bitterly and sincerely that Kate suddenly felt sorry for her. "I feel guilty before you and before your mother. I know there is no forgiveness for me, but God has already punished me by taking away my only son. Please, I beg you, don't leave me." Kate was a very kind person, and she really felt sorry for this woman. She helped her up and sat down in the chair, and then there was a long, frank conversation. Kate told more about her mother's disease, and Isabella promised to pay all the expenses. Although Kate may not have forgiven her grandmother completely, she decided to give her a chance. Isabella insisted that Kate return to the university and hire another maid. There was no way she could let her granddaughter work in that status, and 6 months later, Allison returned from Australia. Herman really helped her heal. When Allison went to her oncologist and showed her lab results, he couldn't believe his eyes. "But that's impossible," was the only thing the doctor could say.